week, and we were both not near 100%.
I would say we were at 40% last week, maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, it was pretty. It was a pretty low percentage, but it was less than we'd like. So, but we're back.
We were fighting off some stuff, but we were victorious. How many of you know when you're married that you are a team and you win or lose as a team? That's just how it works. And so one of the things that we teach all of the clients that we work with is that you need to have a team name, right?
Yeah.
It seems like, where's she going with this?
Yeah.
Because I was just about to say cake toppers always win.
We do.
And I thought the listeners won't have any idea what we're talking about if I say that. So
some of them will, some of them won't.
Yeah, if they've been around us for very long, they might have an idea of what we're talking about. But then they might not. And so anyway, I just wanted to say cake toppers win because we win or lose as a team in our marriage. And so
Right.
We have a team name, and our team name is the Cake Toppers. You want to tell them why?
Well, we do marriage and relationship for a living.
We do.
And when you go to a wedding, there are two things that you remember about the wedding.
Right.
You remember the dress, and I really didn't want to name my team after a wedding dress. That seems kind of weird. And then the other thing you remember is the cake. Sometimes it's how the cake looks. Sometimes it's how the cake tastes. Sometimes it's because the cake doesn't taste very good, but you remember the cake.
Right.
And then at the top of the cake, in a lot of situations, are a bride and a groom, and they are very close together because it's a very small surface. And we, as a couple, want to always be this close together and always remember the importance of being in this together.
Right.
And we were in the fight together last week. It was
it was difficult, man. The thing about us is we're rarely ever sick. I mean, like God has blessed us and we're really pretty healthy, and so we're rarely ever sick. But when we were both sick together, it was a lot.
Yeah.
Neither one of us could take care of the other one.
In 18 years, we've for sure we're rarely sick, and I don't think we've ever been sick at the same time, which was a first that we had to deal with.
Yeah.
So,
but we're back, and that's a really good thing.
In the do's and don'ts of marriage, being sick at the same time, definitely a don't. No bueno for sure.
Somebody's got to try to take care of, somebody's got to try to take care of each other, and it's just harder when we, when we're both sick. But hey, we're back, and we're moving on up to the east side, as it were. We're nearly not moving to the east side, are we? No. Steve just keeps looking at me like I have no idea what she's talking about today.
Yeah, I think that was a Jefferson's reference.
It was a Jefferson's reference. Good for you, babe. So good for me.
Good for you.
So today we're carrying on in our
road rules of relationships. We've taken right turns. We've taken wrong turns. And today we're going to talk about stop signs.
Boop. Did you ever hear the joke about stop signs? That if you pulled up to a stop sign and it had a white border around the edge, it meant that stop sign was optional.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you ever fall for that?
No, but I know people who did. I know somebody, a friend of mine from high school, National Merit Scholar student, very, very smart guy, failed his driver's license test.
No way.
Because he came upon a stop sign with a border and he drove through it.
Get out.
I mean, the guy's a genius IQ person.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
And he just rolled right through it, and the guy looked at him like, what?
Who told him that he believed? Oh my gosh, that's the craziest thing ever.
me and a bunch of my buddies did.
Oh my god, and he believed you? That was mean.
Why wouldn't he? We're an honest bunch. We were straight arrows in high school. There's no reason not to believe us.
Oh my gosh, that was super mean. How many times did he? How did he figure? Did the assuming the driving
Yeah,
instructor?
told him, what are you doing?
Didn't he take driver's ed or something?
No, there are a lot of us who didn't take driver's ed. We just waited till we turned 18 and took our tests straight.
Wow.
That's what I did. I didn't take no driver's ed class.
You didn't?
No. Why would I waste time in driver's ed?
Well, because you got to learn how to drive. Because y'all aren't from the country where we learn how to drive when we're 10.
Right. I'm from the city where you learn how to drive. You either went to driver's ed or you waited until you're 18. That's just how it worked.
So, okay, wait a minute. I didn't know that rule either. So if you don't take driver's ed, then you can't get your driver's license until you're 18?
Right.
Are you serious? That's a thing?
You have to take driver's ed,
Uh-huh.
or once you're 18, you can take your test without driver's ed.
That's a thing.
Yeah. I took classroom.
Learn something new every day, y'all.
I took classroom. I got my permit.
Uh-huh.
So I was able to drive with a licensed driver.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that's how I learned to drive, was driving with a licensed driver. And then when I turned 18, I went and took my test.
Wow. How long have we been married?
Almost 18, going on 18 years.
And I just learned something new about my husband today, y'all. It's a good thing we're doing this Building Bridges with Steve and Melisa radio show. How else would I have ever learned that little tidbit of wisdom? I think I knew that you didn't get your driver's license till you were 18, but I didn't know you had your permit at 15 and a half.
Yeah, you can get your permit at 15 and a half, but I didn't get my permit till I was like 16 or 17. I didn't have to. I had friends who drove. I had a mom who took me to work.
God bless your mom.
I mean, I had a job outside the house from the time I was 14.
Okay.
Okay, 15. I delivered papers till I was 15. Then I got a job at Arby's when I was 15.
Gotta love polyester.
I worked at Arby's, and then I worked at a couple other restaurants. Then I decided restaurants weren't for me, and I got a job at a department store in a menswear department. But Mom always drove me to work because I didn't have a license.
She have to come pick you up too?
Sure.
Wow, your mom was
how else was I going to get home?
Your mom was a dedicated mother. She was busy instilling that great work ethic in you.
Yeah, if she took me to and from work, it meant I had my own money, and I wasn't always hitting her up for cash.
Wow.
But,
see, this is revelation knowledge from Melisa.
Well, yeah, what were you doing when you were 15?
I was working too, but I was busy driving myself there.
Where were you working when you were 15?
Well, I was probably working at my very...
None of this. You were either working somewhere or you weren't.
I'm
you
trying
were probably working somewhere.
Okay, so I only worked in the summers.
Oh.
Because I had a life during school.
So
and my parents thought going to school was my job. So they expected me to go to school and succeed. Which I did, by the way. And then in the summers, we worked.
Sure you did.
And so...
Coasting by on Easy Street.
Perhaps so.
Just going to school during the week, not doing anything else.
Well, I was in a lot of extracurricular activities.
Just going to school, not doing a job during the week.
Well, you can take
some of the others out there were getting up, going to school, coming home, changing, going to work until it was dark,
when I was
picking cotton, bringing in, the crops.
You say that like you know what you're talking about.
I do.
Really?
Yeah.
Who was that person?
There's lots of us.
You were one of them, babe.
I didn't say that.
You said there were a lot of us, which
Workers,
included you.
Workers,
included
people
yourself.
working. I was not working in the fields. I mean, have you ever been in Lokiba, Oklahoma during peanut harvest?
I have.
They're working out in the fields, bringing in the peanuts.
They are.
Drying them, getting them ready for peanut sale.
Oh my gosh. Well, hey. Hey, if you're watching us this morning, would you just, on our Facebook Live, would you just make a little comment, let us know you're here, say hello. DLC is here. We love DLC. He's amazing. And we're super glad he's here.
Crossover radio superfan.
Absolutely.
So,
anyway,
we're talking about rules of the road. We got totally rabbit trailed there for a second.
We did indeed.
And we're talking about stop signs.
Uh-huh.
There are things that you need to stop doing if you want to have a healthy marriage.
It's true. We do, and you know what? Here's the thing. We say this all the time, and people that we've worked with have really kind of begun to believe us, and that is marriage is work, but it doesn't have to be hard work. If you can do a few things really well, you can be successful at being married. And so we just, one of these things is learning what not to do. You know, sometimes the Bible says in Proverbs, one of my favorite verses is, even a fool is thought to be wise if he keeps his mouth shut. Right? Yep. And so I think in the world they paraphrase that verse as saying, you can let people think you're a fool, or you can open your mouth and prove them right. But basically, if you can learn to do some things right, and you can learn what not to do, sometimes just knowing what not to do is a really good thing, right?
Yep.
And so one of the things that we say if you do 3 things really well, you can have a really good marriage. If you put God at the center of your marriage, and both the husband and the wife are committed to keeping their relationship centered around God, it goes a long ways in making your marriage good. Because, I mean, hey, God invented marriage. It was his idea. Then he wrote a book about it, right? The Bible starts with the wedding. It ends with the wedding. And everything in between is a groom looking for his bride. So if you keep God at the center of your marriage, if you intentionally, on purpose, speak your spouse's love language every single day, and make a little deposit in the gas tank every day, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but that's the second thing that you need to do. And the third thing is you need to do a good job of meeting your spouse's needs. And if you do those 3 things, you can have a really good relationship, and you can have a pretty healthy marriage. It'll help you weather some of the storms that are going to come. You won't have a problem-free relationship. You won't have a conflict-free relationship. And you will face things in life that test your relationship. But if you consistently do those 3 things, you can have a pretty healthy relationship. And so when we talk about, the road rules for a good relationship, and we talk about some things that we need to make sure that we stop doing, or we don't stop doing, one or the other, right? One of them that we want to talk about is it's about the pursuit, right? And it's one of the things you should never stop doing is pursuing your spouse. And so it would be one of those rules that has the stop sign that has the border around it, right?
Right.
It's not really optional, but you should just pass right on through that stop sign.
Right. And here's the thing is, if you've been together a really long time, it's going to be pretty easy to coast. It's going to be pretty easy to kick back. It's going to be your natural inclination to rest on your laurels a little bit. You know, when your anniversary rolls around, talk about that amazing, trip to Bora Bora that you took 3 years ago, and not worry about where you're going this year. And the idea of pursuing your spouse is so important, because it communicates that they're wanted, that they're desired, that they're still the center, that they're still the focus of your life. They're valuable. And, granted, when you're older, the rate with which you pursue them might be slowed down a little bit, but the idea that you're always going after them.
Right.
I mean, I'm always I'm always pestering you.
He does do that.
I'm always like, hey,
are you okay?
What do you need? I'm always letting you know I'm thinking about you.
Right. And that is one of the things he does
and it
really
does,
well.
And it doesn't have to be a giant, grandiose gesture, but it's
a daily, simple thing.
It's always saying, hey, I got your back. hey, I'm thinking about you. Hey, I want to do something nice for you. And that's important because that's the the lubrication on the relationship that keeps it from getting,
Dry and stale.
too fractious.
Right. So we're going to talk about that a
Because
little bit more when we come back from our commercial break.
because we're not about fracking in a relationship. We don't want it to be fractious. We want it to
We
be
couldn't go to
not fractious.
We couldn't go to commercial without getting that bump in there.
Well,
So,
yeah, I heard fractious and I thought,
oh,
that's a hot button topic.
We'll be
You're
back
right.
in a flash with Building Bridges with Steve and Melisa here on Crossover Radio.
Radio with a purpose.
Don't go away.
At Victory Church, our mission is to help people live, move, and be in the presence of God. Our service times are Sunday at 9 and 11 a.m. and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. We have 2 worship locations, 1515 North Kelly in Edmond and 4300 North MacArthur in War Acres. For more information, visit our website, victory.church, or call our church office at 405-787-4200. Come to Victory Church, where all are welcome.
Hi, my name is Nick Tarter, and I'm one of the pastors at New Covenant Fellowship in Bethany, Oklahoma. We are located at 6736 Northwest 39th Expressway, inside of Serve. No matter your age, background, or past church experience, we want to invite you to be a part of our family. We are a church where you can belong, even while you're still trying to figure out who God has made you to be. We meet each Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. right here at Serve for small groups, and at 10:45 a.m. for our community worship celebration. We also meet on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock p.m. to talk about gospel and what it looks like to live together as a Christian community. You can find out more about us by visiting newcovenantokc.org, or, of course, you can just come by for a visit. I look forward to personally greeting you when you do.
And we're back here on Building Bridges with Steve and Melisa on Crossover Radio.
Radio with a purpose. We're super glad that you decided to join us today. If you're watching by Facebook Live, don't forget to share our Facebook Live with your friends and family and invite them to come and hang out with us. It makes our mornings so much fun. We are talking today about road rules for a healthy marriage, and we're talking about the stop signs. Before we went on break, we were talking about the fact that you should continue to always, every day, intentionally pursue your spouse. The chase should never end. The chase should never end. And, learning, Stephen is always talks a lot about the idea of always being a student of your spouse, always learning. Because you know what? The truth is people change, people evolve, people grow. And there's always something new to learn about your spouse. Just this morning on our show, I learned that Steve had his permit and that his mom drove him back and forth to work until he was 18. And we've been married for almost 18 years, and I didn't know that about him until now. And so there's always something that you can learn. People are complex, people are deep, and learning to pursue that, learning to pursue as our likes and our passions change over time and they grow over time. Having an interest in something that your spouse is interested in is really important. And, not just blowing them off when they wanted to share something that they love with you. Steve, bless his heart, I'm constantly saying, hey, you should watch this podcast. Listen to this podcast. Hey, you should talk about, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? And I know that there are times when I suggest podcasts or something like that he's probably thinking, oh my gosh, he's doing it again, leave me alone. And not all of them we don't have exactly the same interest. So not all of my things that I think are, earth-shakingly wonderful are things that he's probably interested in. But he does at least, talk to me about them and engage with me about them, ask me what I think about them, do they have a new podcast out, those kind of things. And so it's that concept of engaging your spouse with something that they enjoy for no other reason than they enjoy it. What are other things that we should how are other ways that we can pursue our spouse, Steve?
Well, one of the ways you could pursue your spouse is you can be on the lookout for little things that matter to them. For instance, for many years, I got you your coffee,
Uh-huh.
and you still drink coffee,
I do.
but how you drink your coffee has changed.
It has.
If I got you your coffee and brought you your coffee like you made it, 2 years ago, it wouldn't taste as good to you because it's not how you like it now.
Right.
So the idea that you're staying on top of evolving tastes and habits, because you know what? There might have been a time when a certain style of clothing was more your thing.
Mhm.
And if I bring you a new blouse that would have been really popular with you 5 years ago, and now it's 5 years later, I've just wasted some money and created for you a trip back to the store to return something that you don't want to wear.
Right.
So you don't even have to be actively doing something to be pursuing your spouse. You can be observing and learning so that your next course of action is on point and not, on point 2014.
Another thing that we think
It's
that,
like if I got you like a Hope and Change t-shirt.
I don't even know what that is.
Hope and Change was President Obama's slogan.
Oh,
That's
sorry, y'all.
Hope and Change is very 2004.
Okay, that's probably why I don't remember it. I have a hard time remembering 2019.
2019 was a pretty good year. I
was-
got to spend it all with you.
You
It was
did.
wonderful.
Okay. Another place where we want you to keep pressing on, right? And that is keeping the love
Okay.
tank full.
Okay, nobody's road trip. 0% of road trips go well
Without any gas in the
without
tank.
any gas. Because then you wind up on the side of the road, and then you have to. This is a real, actual story.
Uh-oh.
This is historically accurate. This is not a writer's embellishment. For many,
Can't wait to hear this story.
you know this story.
Go ahead.
For many years, I drove this old white van. We called her Bertha.
We did call her Bertha.
And I drove Bertha everywhere. And
We called her Grandma Bertha
yeah, because
'cause
she's
she-
old.
and had a lot of miles.
And Bertha would her gas tank would get to E.
Uh-huh.
And when Bertha's gas tank got to E, I knew there was 42 miles left in the tank before I had to actually really get gas. Well, we eventually sold Bertha, and I bought a Jeep Grand Cherokee that I like very much. So, first time I'm driving my Jeep, and the gas tank gets down to E, and I'm thinking, I got 42 miles left. Nope. Nope.
Bart doesn't have anything in the tank when he says E.
Well, he doesn't have much. But here's the problem when you run out of gas. How many of you are actually carrying a little red gas tank around in the back of your vehicle?
Yeah, not happening.
So not only did I not have gas, I didn't have a gas tank. So I
have a
had
gas can.
a gas can. So I had to walk to the quick shop and then pay $20 for a gas can, because the only people who buy gas cans at quick shops are the people who are out of gas and absolutely need a gas can. So I go to the quick shop, I buy my gas can, I fill it up with gas, walk the gas back to my Jeep, pour it in, drive, get gas, go about my way. Get home, put the gas can in the garage. I'll use it to fill up the lawnmower. Everything's fine. And then maybe 3.5 weeks later, the same thing happens again. Because I hadn't quite figured out, after E, is it like 12 miles? Is it 19 miles? We know for sure it's not 42 miles. So, same thing happened again. Melissa's in an appointment. I know she can't come and get me. So, I walked to the quick shop again. Buy a gas can again. Well, needless to say, we have 4 gas cans in our garage right now because I kept running out of gas. And I got to the point where it just says, forget it. If I have a quarter a tank, I'm filling up. And
Bless the Lord.
This isn't going to happen
4
again.
gas cans later.
The idea is that don't put your relationship in a place where it's in danger of running out of gas. That's why you're always looking to give to the other person. You are not looking for ways they can give to you. You are looking for ways you can give to them. It is my job to fuel my wife's desire to be with me. Okay?
That's profound. Can you say that again? That's a really powerful statement, Steve.
It's my job to fuel her desire to be with me. When you have 2 people doing that, then you have 2 people who are always wanting to be with one another, and that's what makes a healthy marriage. And you know what? Here's the deal. There's time for putting yourself first.
Right.
I mean, we're not that far out from that time. Melisa is getting ready to celebrate her birthday month.
Starts in a few days, y'all.
All of you people out there in crossover radio land,
who knows Melisa's love language?
If you want to send a gift to Melisa, DM me, and I'll let you know where to send it to, and you can start celebrating her birthday month,
which is October. Is my birthday month.
October.
Mm-hmm.
When
my love language
is gifts.
Gifts. So hey, I'm down for that.
So she needs to say, this is what I want for my birthday. Okay? That helps me get it right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about her putting the focus on herself, because she knows that I want to do right by her for her birthday. So don't get this all twisted that you never get to talk about yourself, because you do. But my primary focus is never going to be on me. My primary focus is going to be on God. My secondary focus is going to be on Melisa. And my tertiary focus is going to be on myself. I am on the very edge of my peripheral vision about myself. But if I can keep that level of priorities, my life is going to be smooth and I'm going to have a successful relationship.
And here's the thing. If you're constantly, filling the tank of your spouse, and you're constantly, putting them first, and it's not, it doesn't have to be like every single time. It's just if the majority of your time is spent putting your spouse first, when you want to make a withdrawal from the tank, right? You want to drive somewhere, as it were, you're going to be okay, and you're not going to be buying a gas can and paying $20 for it if you've already got gas in the tank on a consistent basis. And that's kind of the thing. It's a trade-off. I'm gonna spend the majority of my time looking out for my spouse and blessing them and pursuing them. And then occasionally when I want something, it's okay to ask for that. It's okay to take care, it's okay to do something for me, because they're not completely depleted. But if you've never made an investment in your spouse, and all you do is say me, 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 me. We say this all the time. When was the last time you prayed a prayer that didn't include the words me, my, or I? And if you live your life from the vantage point of where all of your words start, all of your sentences start with me, my, or I, then you're not going to have a healthy relationship. But if you're constantly, if you're consistently putting your spouse first, then when it's time for you to be first, they're happy and they celebrate that. And hopefully both of you are doing that, so each of you feel fulfilled. So we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. with Building Bridges with Steve and Melisa here on Crossover Radio. Don't go away.
Whether you need a professional writer to build or expand your online presence, or fresh new designs and new perspective to build your business, where do you start? Tales from the Click Media is committed to telling your story in a way that promotes business growth, consistent branding, and long-term success. So whether you have 1 or 100 employees, no tale is too small to tell. Call us today at 405-620-6200 or visit our website at talesfromtheclickmedia.com.
Hey, this is John Chris.
Hey, this is John Muskillet.
What's going on, y'all? It's Dylan Chase and DJ Squared.
Hey, it's Carrie Job, and you're listening to Crossover Radio.
What's going on? It's your boy KB. You are listening to Radio with a Purpose.
Hey everybody, we are back, and this is Building Bridges with Steve and Melisa on Crossover Radio.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. It makes our time together so much more fun. And so today we're talking about road signs, road rules for a healthy marriage. And today we're talking about stop signs, things you should stop for and things you shouldn't stop for. And some things you should never change. One of the things you should never change about your marriage to have a healthy marriage is always use the owner's manual.
You know, if your car is not running and there's something wrong with it, you know, it might help to look at the owner's manual to see what's wrong instead of just guessing.
The light comes on. Sometimes you got to get the owner's manual out and say, what does this light mean?
Yep, and here's the thing is, it's easy to throw your hands up in the air and say, well, it's broken, I'll just get a new one. And we see this in young people all the time, is they are all giddy and happy, and then their marriage runs into the first really big problem and they don't know what to do.
Right.
And they want to quit.
Right.
Check the owner's manual. It's called the Bible. It has a bunch of stuff on marriage in it. Even when you aren't even looking for stuff on marriage, it's got stuff on marriage. And maybe that's something that needs to be addressed before you just, chuck the whole thing out the window.
And you know what? Here's the truth. You can find something about marriage in every book of the Bible. It doesn't matter what book it is. Open it up, begin to read. You can find something. If you look at the Bible through the lens of marriage, you can find something about being married well in every book of the Bible. And one of the primary and first most important rules that you learn in the Bible when it comes to being married is about selflessness. And most people's marriage gets in trouble when they start being selfish. When it's all about me, it's all about what I want, and me being happy, and me feeling like I'm in love with you, and all of those things. And selfishness is one of the biggest and most damaging things that any marriage can do. We were never created to be selfish in marriage. We were never created to be selfish, period. But, and most people live their lives with this fear that if I give all the time, then people will take advantage of me, that I'll give too much, that nobody will ever give back, and I give, and I never get anything in return. And that's just not true. That is not true. When you give from a true heart of saying, I want to put the other person first because I want our marriage to be good, I want to honor God in our relationship. When you begin to do that, there is this biblical law, and it's the law of sowing and reaping. And it is true. It's a universal law, just the same as gravity is a law. When you give out of a heart to serve the other person, and you do that from a right heart in a right place without saying, I'm going to give because I want to get, right? That's not why we don't give to get. We give because it's what God's asked us to do. We give because it's the right thing to do. When we put ourselves, behind our spouse and we say, can I meet your needs for you? Can I love you well? I promise you that your spouse will love well in return. And even if your spouse doesn't, God sees that and God honors that, and God will cause you to be fulfilled.
Here's the deal. If you were really concerned about who's going to take care of you, who's going to give to you, who's going to fulfill you, stay single.
For sure.
You know what? Dennis, it's on your shoulders, Chief. Knock yourself out. Um, Go wherever you want, do whatever you want, and you are the sole person responsible for your fulfillment. Good luck on that. That's gonna last great for a while. But here's the thing: the instruction manual says that we are to love God with all our strength, our soul, and our, what does it say? You know, that thing.
That thing. You know
that
thing. And love our neighbor as ourselves.
Right, but the whole golden rule thing says that we are supposed to love others
Right.
like we love ourselves. So you're getting away from the instruction manual when you make, you know what? Maybe you're a motorcycle in a car world, and you're just driving with yourself, and everybody else has got two axles and passengers and stuff. And if that's your thing, that's your thing. But if you're going to be in a relationship, then you need to look at the instruction manual. You want to know how to drive it.
Mm-hmm.
And B, if something goes wrong, you want to know how to fix it. And what happens is people panic when the check engine light comes on. And instead of panicking, all they have to do is read the book, or here's the deal, or take it to a mechanic.
Yeah.
Maybe you're really new at the marriage thing. Maybe you're really confused by whatever the problem is. Take it to a mechanic. Melisa and I are marriage mechanics. We'll try to fix your car for you.
Right.
We're going to ask you not to go mudding in your Honda Civic, because it's not designed for that. We're gonna ask you not to put Aunt Jemima syrup in your gas tank, because it's not designed for that. We're gonna help you with some obvious mistakes and some smaller mistakes, and try to fine tune some of the things you do correctly. But there's always an instruction manual.
That's good.
We're not put on this world to fly blind and bump into things all the time. We're gonna stub our toes, sure. We're gonna make big mistakes, sure. But there's a instruction manual to correct the path, if it were.
And I think one of the things that you said, everybody's going to make mistakes in relationships. We're all going to do things that we're, in hindsight, we wish we wouldn't have done, or, and for us, most of the couples who come to see us are in trouble because they don't know what they don't know. And
they never read the instruction manual.
They haven't read the instruction manual. Many of them never got any driver's ed, as it were. They didn't take the test. They didn't do any pre-marriage counseling, and now they're 5 years into their marriage, and it's a train wreck. And it's because they've never read the manual, and they've never been instructed on how to do marriage work.
You walk onto the car lot and you think, dang, that's a nice looking car. I want one of them. Here's the deal. I can buy a really nice looking car.
You can.
But if it's a manual transmission,
you're in trouble.
It's going to sit in my driveway, and it's not going to go anywhere, and I'm not going to know how to drive it.
And you're not going to get the joy of knowing what to do, driving your car.
You can drive a stick.
I can.
You can drive an automatic.
I can.
You can drive a tractor.
No, I don't. I might could drive a tractor.
You never drove your dad's tractor?
No, I never had to drive the tractor.
He wouldn't let other people drive it?
No, he let other people drive it, but I just never drove it.
It's because you're a girl?
It's because I'm a girl.
Ah.
Tractors are for boys.
Tractors are for boys. So both your brothers got to drive the tractor.
And my sons. My husband didn't. They didn't ever let you drive the tractor.
I did not. I did drive the truck pulling the flatbed of hay bales one
time. You did. He hauled hay one day.
Yeah.
That was his farming job. He did help get you've helped get cattle in and out before.
I've helped get cattle. I've helped feed cattle. But the point is this: is getting in the field
Mm-hmm.
where the cows are.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, far afield farming joke there for you.
Ah.
Not a very small joke. Almost imperceptible was how small that joke was. But everybody
joke grenade,
out
right?
there is know your instruction manual. Go to that. And here's the other thing. Like I said, if you can't figure out the instruction manual, go to somebody who can. And one of the points we want to make here is that any car that you want to take on a road trip, you want to go and get the oil changed and the spark plugs changed, because if you're going to drive across country, you want to make sure that everything is running right. Our daughter drove to California
Mm-hmm. For their honeymoon.
for their honeymoon.
They did a road trip.
But before they went to California,
Mm-hmm.
they had to
Replace the transmission.
get a new transmission.
Yeah, they did.
It was for them, it was beyond basic maintenance.
It was.
But it was necessary repairs for the trip to be successful. Some of you only need oil changes. Some of you need new transmissions. But if you want to have a successful road trip with your road buddy, you need to do the maintenance on your marriage.
And here's a good sign that maybe your marriage needs some maintenance or it needs some mechanic work. And that is if you couldn't do a road trip successfully with each other and still enjoy your time together. If you couldn't do that, if you're like, I'm assessing my marriage right now. Could my spouse and I do a road trip several days on the road together and have a good time and enjoy each other and have fun? You probably need to bring your marriage in for some maintenance. You probably need to bring your marriage in for, maybe you need an overhaul. Maybe you need a new transmission.
Tune-up.
Maybe you just need a tune-up. But here's the thing. You should be able to enjoy your spouse together. I mean, like goodness, COVID. Golly gee, we've all learned to live together with COVID, right? And COVID has been a thing that's brought families closer together, but it's also been a place where people have, they realized they needed to do some work on their marriage because they were stuck together all the time. And so don't be afraid of getting help. Don't be afraid of asking for marriage help and going in to get counseling. People always need counseling before they think they need counseling. And in my first marriage, we talk pretty openly about my first marriage. I was married for 20 years. For those of you who've never heard the story before I married Steve. And one of the things that Mark and I never did was we never got counseling. We never sought out anybody to help us iron out the problems that we had in our relationship. And it was really our downfall. A lot of people ask me if I knew what I know now, could I still be married to him? And the answer is maybe and probably. But you don't know what you don't know. And we never got counseling. And that is one of the things in our family that's changed because all of us, everybody in my, Steve and I, your kids, and that we've all received counseling and guidance from other people. And we're all healthier because of it. And there's no shame in getting help. Wise people get wise counsel in every area of their life. And it's funny because marriage is one of those places. Marriage, parenting, personal help is one of those places where a lot of people don't take advantage of the help that's out there. And we have couples that come to us and they just come like once a month or once a quarter for a tune-up. Just a place to check in and say, listen, we just want to make sure we're still on track. Maybe we need to talk about some things in a safe space that have kind of been bothering us. And that's a really good way to have a healthy marriage.
Yep, and it's funny because if you're out of shape, you go to the gym and you hire a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
If you're struggling in school, you go to a tutor. And it seems like everywhere in all these other areas, getting somebody who knows more about it than you is totally normal and okay. And for some reason, although it's significantly less than it used to be, But in marriage, it's the same. It's the same principle. If you're not where you want to be, talk to somebody who's gotten to where you want to go.
Right. And
It's there's a whole industry built on consulting.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know how many people are getting paid by Trump and Biden to consult on their campaigns,
right.
who may or may not have ever been elected to anything.
Right.
They just know stuff.
Right.
So go to somebody who knows more than you about what you want in your marriage.
And I think that's an important. It's so important. The thing that we find in our practice is that a lot of couples come to us and feel like that their marriage is a complete and total train wreck, and there's no hope for them. They're hopeless. They're ready to call it quits. They're ready to move on. And yet, what they figure out is that they want is not nearly as difficult as they think it's going to be. And so, learning to really be able to do a few things well. That's one of the things that we've kind of covered this month is learning to do a few things well. Learning how to, love your spouse well. Learning to speak their love language. Learning what their needs are. Most people assume they know what their spouse's needs are, and we rarely get a couple when we ask them, what is the number one need of your husband? Do most women get it wrong? 90 something percent of the women get it wrong.
The people who get it right usually read ahead in the book and knew the answer because they read it already.
Yeah.
But it's important to really use all the resources that are available to you, and you don't have to go alone. The two of you started this thing, and the two of you can finish it. You just have to be wise. You need to make the effort to sow into one another. Use the wisdom of the ages and the wisdom of those older and wiser than you to do it well.
And one of the things that I would say to you is if you have maybe your marriage is pretty good. Maybe you're doing great in your marriage, but you know people who aren't. I mean, we all know those couples who don't get along well, whose marriages are a mess.
Yeah, you don't want to be like Nick and Joni. They're a train wreck.
Right. And you know what? One of the things that you can do is we can look out for the other person. We can help the other people in our lives. And sometimes, even when I go back to talking about when I was married to Mark, if there was not anybody in my life, in our sphere of people, who would look at us and say, "Hey, Melisa, you're pretty disrespectful to your husband. You guys should get some help. Here's some people that might be able to help you." And I think we can, in kindness and in love, and if it's presented in kindness and love, we can help guide other people into the place of getting the help that they need. It's one of the reasons that we're big fans of what we call the 3 to 5 rule. And the 3 to 5 rule is that you have 3 to 5 other couples in your same phase of life who have your same belief systems as far as, marriage and that kind of thing, that you do life with on a consistent basis, where you're known and so that you can support each other, but you can also call each other out when you're not acting right.
And here's the thing, is if you're that person, if you're the older, wiser couple, and you recognize some red flags in one of your friends' marriages, you can throw them a podcast or you can throw them a book, and they may or may not read it. Or you can say, hey, let's join this small group at church together, the 4 of us. Mm-hmm. And you can take an active role in encouraging them to go to a place where they might get some information that will smooth out the rough spot that they're in right now. And that way you're saying, I'm willing to invest the time. I'm willing to do it. And you're more likely going to get buy-in from them if instead of saying, hey, listen to this Joel Osteen podcast. It'll make you feel warm and fuzzy on the inside.
Well, and I think the other thing is if you've received counseling or you've gone to somebody who's really helped you in your relationship. And I think learning sometimes it's not as bad as it used to be, but there used to be this really negative connotation about people who got counseling. Especially in my earlier life, there was a lot that people didn't get counseling like they do today. Counseling is much more normal than it used to be. But it's that concept of saying, you know what, we did it and it worked. It helped us. If you've gotten counseling and it's been beneficial to you, man, share the wealth with your friends and your family and suggest that. I would say probably 80% of our clients come from a referral from either somebody that's seen us or that's already been one of our clients or somebody that knows us. And they really do. It really is a kind way to help your friends out and help people that you know out, and it shows I love and I care about you. Hey, I want you guys to be able to work through this. Hey, I believe in you, and I think if you got a little bit of help, that you might find it might benefit you. I mean, one of the things that Stephen and I do in our practice that's a lot different than other people is that couples are going to meet with both of us together. So they're always going to be a husband and wife with a husband and wife, and I think that helps because the truth is, most couples come to us because the wife initiates it. An overwhelming majority of couples come to us because the wife initiates counseling.
Come on, husband, step up.
Right.
Take some leadership in your marriage.
Good job.
If your marriage is in trouble, you do something to make your marriage better. You don't just sit back and hope things self-correct. Your marriage is not the stock market. It doesn't go through corrections. It needs to be fixed by active decisions to do things differently. So there you go, husbands. Get off your butts. Do something. Grow your marriage. Don't be slacker.
Way to go, Steve. That was awesome. Way to chime in at just the right time.
So
I think that's wonderful. But I do think it's important. One of the things I'll do is I'll put a link in the show notes or in the Facebook feed that tells you how you can contact us if you need help with your marriage. Please don't struggle in your marriage without any hope. Please don't throw the towel in on your marriage until you've tried to get help. Not every marriage is going to stay together. I mean, 100% of our marriages that we work with don't stay together. But, 3/4 of them do. And most people would tell you fixing their marriage wasn't nearly as hard as they thought. They learned to do a few things really well, and their marriage got a whole lot better.
And one of the things that we've found is particularly troublesome for people right now is you've gotten into a situation where one of you sort of lost the oomph, lost the drive, and have sort of checked out. And the other one is, busting their butt, trying really hard to keep the marriage healthy and growing. And then what happens is they give up. Somebody has gotten lax. And then by the time the other one gives up, it's in such desperate straits that you're on the jagged edge. And then the person who initially let their efforts slide says, oh, crap, I should do something. My marriage is about to end. And what we find is when only one of you is trying really hard, marriage is always a struggle. But when both of you are trying hard at the same time, you can pull the marriage out of almost any sort of nosedive.
And
most any marriage is recoverable when both of you are trying hard at the same time.
And I think, but if you're out there and you're saying, well, I don't think my spouse will try. Let me tell you, we have couples after couples after couples where one person decided to begin to be the person that God called them to be in the marriage and to honor their marriage by becoming the right person for the marriage. That we have watched the other spouse come into a line and their marriage has been restored. I mean, we have stories that we could tell you. I mean, where couples one of them was having an affair and the other one said, I'm going to love him anyway, and I'm going to love like God asked me to love, and I'm going to do what's right because it's right, and I'm going to hang in there and I'm going to hold out for my marriage. And that couple's happily married today. And that's more than one. We have more than one, example in in the years that we've been doing this, where
Right.
one person came in, but it's so much easier if both of you would try.
Right.
It's exponentially better.
And it pretty much never works if neither of you try.
Yeah,
You know,
you're almost doomed to fail.
you know, if you're like, well, why should I bother? They're not going to do anything. Well, guess what? You've just signed your death warrant. You know, somebody's got to decide to make the first step and pull in the right direction. And if you can get both of you to do that, you can say, you know, our marriage is in the toilet, but it doesn't have to be, because it's not very far from the toilet to the shower, where you can, you know, get in the shower, wash all the stink off your marriage, and start fresh and clean again. So don't despair. You know, your marriage is totally doable. What we have to do is we have to understand that it's gonna require that you pursue each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna require that you put gas in each other's tank so you don't wind up stranded on the side of the road. There's no reason you need to be collecting little red gas cans in your garage. That's not necessary. You know, you need to read the instruction manual. And if you can't read the instruction manual, find somebody who can.
Take it to a mechanic.
Take it to the mechanic. Proper maintenance will allow your road trip. I mean, you're not just going to the 7-Eleven. You're maybe going across country. We haven't been to the Grand Canyon yet.
No, but we should go there.
I want to go to the Grand Canyon.
Me too.
We have found that we do vacations together pretty dang well.
Nobody I'd rather travel with than you, babe.
And even if we wind up in Dallas at the little Mexican dessert place where we actually have to call our son-in-law because
we need a translator.
The menu is all in Spanish.
That actually happened.
And I ordered the worst dessert in the history of mankind. It was like this ice thing with like chilies and hot sauce on it. It was like almost like a tequila hot sauce shaved ice thing. It was horrible. But we still had a wonderful time on that vacation.
We did.
Because we take care of our vehicle. We make sure it's filled with gas. We make sure that it's tuned up.
Right. And again, you know what? We do this show with hopes that somebody out there somewhere is going to find a marriage tip that's going to help make their marriage better. And we couldn't do the show without you, so we're super glad that you decided to join us today. And every week, we're here every Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. And we love for you to jump on. Don't forget, if you haven't downloaded the Crossover Radio app, to go to your App Store, Google Play Store, and download the app today. Take Crossover Radio with you wherever you go, and we will be back.
And we made it through the week with almost no coughing.
We did. We'll be back next Wednesday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. We will see you then. Thanks for hanging out with us. Until then, kiss your wife, kiss your husband. Have a great day.
Bye.